We're back, we're naked, and we're ready to party.
You're not really naked, are you?
Not physically, but here on the Naked Party Time podcast, we get real and raw about life, leadership, and love. So what do you say? Are you ready to get naked?
Let's do it.
Houston, we have a problem. Those are the words I went back and wrote in my journal back in March of 2022 after God began to stir our hearts for a new land right here in the Bay Area of Houston. And today on episode 74, on the 6th anniversary of the Naked Party Time podcast, we're going to revisit the episode that shared with the world that we were moving to Houston and joining the team at the harbor. Welcome back, or welcome for the very first time to the Naked Party Time podcast, where we get real and raw about life, leadership, and love. If you're joining us on YouTube, hello to you guys there in our new studio once again. No matter where you're watching or listening from, please make sure you are subscribed so you never miss an episode. Please like the episode, share it, drop a comment as well. All those things do help to spread the word about new content we put out. If you don't know, my name is jeffgmaness, and I am your host. And sitting across from me, as always, is my podcast partner of 6 years, the mission control to my madness.
That's a good
The
one.
calm voice in my headset when I'm spiraling in orbit. She's the hummus to my Holy Land hopes, which we'll talk about here in a bit. The breeze to my study break, and sometimes the very reason I need a break.
Hey.
She's the sunscreen to my summer, the sweet tea to my Texas heat, and the one who has boldly gone where no woman has gone before. 6 years of podcasting with her husband. She is my wife, my best friend, and my queen, Sabrina. How you doing, Sabrina?
That was good. Did you write that or did chat
A little
write
help. I edited what chat gave me.
it? Yeah.
A little bit of help.
Yeah,
That was pretty good.
That was pretty good. I liked it.
I tried covering a couple of topics that
The sunscreen to your summer.
that could be a bit awkward as well. This month is our 6-year
I cannot believe
anniversary
that.
on the podcast. 74 episodes in. More, actually, because there's a couple of bonus episodes we
Yeah.
didn't number. The first episode, episode 0. So it's actually more than 74. But, you know, we're probably approaching close to 80 total episodes done. Isn't that awesome?
It doesn't even seem possible.
Yeah. If you've not listened, if you're watching or listening, if you've not watched or listened to episode 0, we would encourage you to do that. It does explain the meaning behind our podcast name. We're kind of stuck with the name now. I don't want to rebrand that because there's a meaning to it,
Right.
both in reality, but also what we're trying to do, which is be real and raw.
Yeah.
You know, be vulnerable, which is a word that is difficult for you to say. People keep telling us they're getting something out of it, so I guess we'll just keep doing it, right?
Yep. I guess so.
Yep. We would like to maybe have some guests, which will really make our podcast title awkward. Hey, we're on the Naked Party Time podcast with John here.
That's funny.
Yeah. But we will keep our clothes on.
Hey, we always have our clothes on.
I
Come
know
on.
we do.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
You do need to go if you've not watched the first episode. Go do that because we get into detail on why we've titled the podcast that. It's a funny story behind it, and then we explain the real meaning. 6 years. We started during COVID, and here we are today.
There is no way we thought this would last this long. 6 years ago, there is no way we thought we'd still be doing this.
Yep.
And you have probably wanted to quit 5 of those 6 years.
And you know what? This year, I have not said once we should quit.
You've had a change of heart.
A newfound passion.
It's this new room.
It's the podcast room. No, we did better this year. This was going back to our goals episode.
Well, we set a better goal.
Yeah, we did better. We scheduled it better. We talk about it. We plan it better. So this year, so far, it's been really good.
There's always room for improvement.
There is. And we hope to improve even more with our new studio here, inviting some guests in. That would be fun. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
We do also, I mentioned the Holy Land. You're my hummus to my Holy Land hopes.
And the hummus and the Holy Land is the best.
Yes, it is. We do have officially a trip to Israel planned for 2027. So the dates, if you're watching or listening, March 8th through the 19th of 2027. You can go to my website for all of the information, jeffgmaness.com. Just click on Israel Trip 2027 at the top menu, and you can find out all the details, the full itinerary. There's a ton of information on there, the place to register, the cost for the trip, all that kind of stuff. And we are monitoring daily what's happening in the Middle East. And we're praying, first of all, for peace over there, but also that we'd be able to go.
Yeah.
We've had this trip planned the last 2 years.
I know. I was like, we've been trying to go back since 2025.
Yep. So the first year we canceled it because of the war in Gaza. We were supposed to go in March of this year, and 1 week to the day before we were flying out, the war erupted in Iran. And so obviously they shut down the airport and everything. We literally couldn't go if we wanted to. We weren't going to anyway.
Yeah.
But we are hoping to go in March. Faith-Based Expeditions is the company we go with. They do a phenomenal job of making sure that we only go if it's safe. Russ, the founder and president of the company, he is always looking out for the tours that go. And so we will only go if it's safe for us to go, but we are planning on going. So please, if you want to go to Israel, it is we say it all the time, a faith-changing experience.
I think this is our best itinerary.
I agree.
I was so bummed when we didn't get to go in March because I've been so excited for this itinerary. It's a little bit of a longer trip. There's a Sabbath day. We're staying in new hotels. Yep. We're seeing new sites. Yep. So if you've gone with us in the past, there's going to be new things even to us. And so
we're staying on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. The hotel we're staying at you'll watch the sunrise over the Sea of Galilee.
And it's amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We love the food over there. There's been people that haven't said, they miss American food. You don't get American food. You get Mediterranean food.
Oh, man.
But it's amazing.
I'd eat Mediterranean 24/7 if I could.
It's awesome. So we'd love for you to go. And space is limited. So if you want, the trip was full before we had to cancel it. Some people have decided not to go, so there are spaces open. So if you want to go, check out the website. You can email us, hello@jeffgmaness.com. If you got questions, we'll try to answer those. And then lastly, before we dive into our content, when this episode releases, we will be in the middle of our annual study break. On the day this releases, Lord willing, we'll be on our way to upstate New York, where we have rented a house there, where I'll be able to get some study and some work done while you hang out with our daughter Michaela and our grandson Coulter. In the evenings, I'll be able to do that, the weekends as well. So we are going to be gone, but since it was our 6-year anniversary on the podcast, we thought it'd be fun to revisit and replay our most listened to and most watched podcast ever.
Wow.
By far, this has the most plays. And we don't get a whole lot of plays to begin with. But this is far and away the leader. It's episode 34 from January of 2022. The title of it is Houston, We Have a Problem. We just recently re-listened to it ourselves just to refresh ourselves on it. And we released that episode on the day that we began our drive to Houston with our family for our move here. 2 days before releasing it was our last Sunday at Element Church in Cheyenne. And for the first time, we were able to publicly share where we were going. Because on that same day, that Sunday, Pastor Rick here at the harbor shared about his planned retirement and the fact that a successor had been hired, which was me. And so we became public here on our last day at Element in Cheyenne and began the drive down here. And it was crazy to re-listen to the story again of all that God did to release us from Element and then lead us here to the harbor. It was fun to listen to again.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. And just so you know, as we replay this episode, Sabrina was sick at the time.
Oh, man.
She had a head cold, and then she started crying. So stuffy nose with tears and snot You'll hear it.
Yes. Sorry about
So
that.
just FYI, she was sniffing a lot. With that said, and without further ado, here is Houston, we have a problem again. Houston, we have a problem. Not only are those the famous words spoken during the Apollo 13 mission, but those are the exact words I went back and wrote in my journal for Monday, March 8th of 2021. And why did I write that down? Well, March 8th was the day that God spoke to my heart that something big was coming for Sabrina and I. A big change was coming. And a few weeks later, out of nowhere, a door opened for us to put our names in as candidates for the senior pastor position at a church in the Houston area, which brought us to where we are today. And on this episode 34 of the Naked Party Time podcast, we get to share publicly where we are going and what church we'll be serving in, as well as talk about some of the details of the last 9 months of our lives that we haven't been able to share yet. If this is your first time listening, or if you've been with us from the beginning or anywhere in between, we are thrilled you are watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast app. My name is Jeff.Maness. I am joined, as always, by my wife and my queen, Sabrina. No extra names today. Can you believe we're finally able to share the details?
No.
It seems crazy, doesn't it? We've been holding this in for so long.
When I was reading this, I was like, you can't say that. You can't say that. You can't say that. Like, it just felt so wrong to even read the script that we're finally able to be public.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep. So this last Sunday, January 9th, was my last day as lead pastor of Element Church in Cheyenne, Wyoming. 15 years ago this month, we moved our family of 6 to Cheyenne to start Element Church. At the time, we had 4 kids that were 5 and under. Our daughter Jada being only a few weeks old when we moved here. And I don't recommend planting a church with kids that little.
Yeah.
After founding the church in 2007, we now find ourselves on the doorstep of another brand new thing. This time our kids are 20, 18 and engaged, going to be married in February, 17 and 15, and it just doesn't seem possible, does it?
I wasn't going to cry. Why am I getting emotional?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were going to cry.
I didn't either.
Are we good?
Yeah.
You want to say anything?
I just can't believe. It's crazy when you look at the ages of our kids and how much has happened here.
Yeah.
All the good and the hard, and we have a lot
Yeah.
of memories here.
Yeah. I was going for it today, huh? I just asked if you were going to cry before we started.
I didn't think I was.
And you were like, no. You're kind of rude to me.
I know. I'm sorry.
Getting payback. So we're recording this actually on Sunday, January 2nd, so that we can pack up our podcast stuff and get it on the moving truck. But we're releasing it on January 11th. So Lord willing, that's the day that we're going to be on the road with 3 vehicles, 5 drivers, 1 dog, and a fish as we head to our new home in League City, Texas, which is in the Bay Area of Houston. It does feel weird saying all these details.
I know.
In October of this last year, after a long interview process with the church's board and leadership team, I accepted the position of senior pastor at the Harbor, which is a non-denominational church that was started in Friendswood, Texas, 24 years ago this month they began. The church's website is theharbor.life, so www.theharbor.life. HARBOR, and you are free to go there and check out the church if you want to. When I come on staff, I'll be working alongside their current senior pastor, Rick Baldwin, who is the founding pastor and will be retiring sometime in the second half of 2022. I'll work with him as we make the transition from his leadership as senior pastor to myself. Rick and his wife, Marie, as well as the board and the staff that we've interacted with so far, they have been incredible.
Yeah.
They have been so gracious and generous and loving and kind to us and our whole family as we've walked through this process. So to the people of Element Church who might be listening or watching, you can trust that we are stepping into the presence of a wonderful congregation and will be well cared for as we have been well cared for here as well. This past Sunday, January 9th, we were officially introduced to the people of the Harbor as the next senior pastor. So if you're tuning in as a Harbor family member for the first time, welcome to you guys as well. We can't wait to meet all of you and get started serving in God's kingdom with you. So there you go. We are moving 1,100 miles away to the Bay Area of Houston to be the senior pastor of the Harbor in Friendswood, Texas. We'll see you next month. Easiest podcast ever. Right?
Yeah.
That's all we're going to do. We're done.
Yep.
Just telling everybody where we're going and we're out.
Yeah.
Peace. No, we're gonna share some more details. That is the big news that we have kind of been holding on to. Again, we've known since October that this is where we'd be going and where we'd be serving. But the Harbor needed to do their own communication process. We already knew we were leaving before we even knew that we were going to be hired there.
Yeah.
So once we were hired, then they began the communication process of telling all their staff and telling their congregation as well. So we needed to honor their timeline through the process. But even though that is the big news, we're moving to League City, Texas to pastor a church in Friendswood called the Harbor. There is so much more behind the scene that we haven't talked about, right? Mm-hmm. So you can actually go back to episode 30 and hear some of the processes that got us to where we are today. But there was much more we couldn't share in that episode that we wanted to share today. And we'll share more in the days ahead in person at the Harbor as well. So where do we begin? How about we begin with the cruise that was booked in May of 2020? Yes, this goes back that far, and I think this helps to remind us of the incredible sovereignty of our God. In fact, just the other day, you and I were talking about what if all these random things didn't happen? Like, surely God would have figured it all out. He's God, He's sovereign, but how would God have worked?
Yeah.
Remember talking about that?
Yeah. Like, we know how the process worked now.
Yeah.
But what if this didn't take place, or what if this didn't take place?
Yeah.
Like, how would God have orchestrated it in a different way? Because it could have looked, I mean, if it could have looked completely different. If COVID never hit, and as you'll learn, this cruise never got canceled, I don't know how Jesus would have done it, because that kind of changed everything.
Yeah. Obviously, if He wanted us there, He would have figured it out.
Well, yeah, but it's just kind of fun to talk about.
And so there's some, again, using air quotes if you're not watching, random things that happen we're about to share that are a huge part of this story.
Yeah.
So let's go there. In May of 2020, we had a cruise booked out of Galveston, Texas, which is about 35 miles, a half hour's drive from Friendswood, where the church is. But we had this cruise booked out of Galveston, Texas with our son Jonah to celebrate his completion of his high school equivalency. COVID, though, canceled everybody's plans in 2020. So we rebooked the cruise for January of this past year. We're just going to tack it on to the end of our Disney World vacation. But again, COVID, cruises still weren't going in January, so COVID derailed those plans. In the end, we ended up with travel vouchers from Southwest Airlines for each member of our family that we needed to use. So we told all 4 of our kids, you can use your travel voucher to fly anywhere Southwest travels as long as your travel voucher covers it. Well, both Mariah and Michaela, they chose to use their vouchers to see some friends. And then both Jonah and Jada came to us and said, we want to go to a beach somewhere. Well, we didn't know how we go to a beach and have money then to still actually
it wasn't something we budgeted.
We had just finished our Disney World vacation. Well, I have an aunt and uncle who live in Friendswood, Texas. As I said, about 40 miles or 40 minutes from Galveston, which has lots of beach access. It's not white sand beach with clear, crystal clear water, but we're from Wyoming. So a beach is a beach, right? And if Galveston was where we could go, then that's where we're going to go. So I reach out to my aunt and uncle. I explain our situation, ask if we can fly to Houston, crash at their place, borrow one of their cars, and hit the beach for a day or two over a weekend. They were thrilled. They are amazing. Jane and Steve, if you're listening, we love you guys. They were thrilled that we could come down and welcomed us on our little weekend adventure. That was in January of 2021. We scheduled our trip for a weekend in March of this last year where I wasn't preaching at Element. And I don't remember the exact dates that we went. It was, March 18th?
Through the 21st.
March 18th through the 21st. So am I good so far? Anything we need to add yet?
I don't think so.
Okay. So looking back at the story, it's crazy to think about. Like we were only going to Houston because we had these Southwest vouchers.
Yeah.
We love going to see Jane and Steve any chance we can get, but this was a completely random event.
Right. Very random.
Very random. And now we're on the way. So we had this trip planned several months in advance. At the end of January and then heading into February, God was doing some really cool things in my heart and soul. And I felt like my vision and desire to lead Element was kicked into another gear. I felt more connected, more rooted in what I was doing than ever. And I shared that because it makes what happened next so much harder for us to process, or it did make it so much harder for us to process. Do you remember that season that I was in?
Yeah.
So God was moving in my heart. We launch a new sermon series that's pretty vision focused for Element. And right in the middle of it, in the early part of February, God begins to stir my heart with one passage of scripture in the Old Testament, Deuteronomy 6. I wasn't in Deuteronomy in my normal Bible reading, but day after day, week after week, God kept taking me back to Deuteronomy 6. I couldn't shake it. It's a very famous passage that contains the Shema, one of the most important and famous prayers of Jewish people. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You must love the Lord with all your heart, soul, and strength. That's found in Deuteronomy 6. It's what Jesus called the greatest command. It's also the chapter that challenges parents to talk about all of these things, all these laws, talk about them to your children. Teach them when you're at home, on the road, when you're going to bed, when you're getting up. Like, make your life about these commands. So I read Deuteronomy 6 several times over the course of, days and weeks in February. I remember thinking, like, there's good stuff here.
Yeah.
But nothing stands out. And then after about 3 weeks of being drawn back to that passage, I brought you into it. I finally texted you one day from the office. And I told you I've been reading Deuteronomy 6. I asked you to read it. Tell me what you saw. I'm pretty sure you responded with the exact same thing I said. You were like, it's good.
I mean, I have most of it highlighted.
Yeah, but nothing stood out.
Yeah, no.
You weren't like, oh, wow, here's something that...
No, I didn't see any light bulbs.
Yeah. So now you're in the process. We're both feeling drawn to Deuteronomy 6, and we're both looking for something now, like every day. At first, we noticed the chapter talks a lot about kids and grandkids, which was terrifying. Because what did we think, Sabrina?
Well, I thought, is one of our kids going to have a kid? I didn't know, like, one of our kids at the time was looking at moving out and living with her boyfriend. And so, I mean, a lot of things can happen.
Yep.
And so I was just trying to think of, like, the most obvious, and that was the thing that came to my mind.
All of our children biologically are childbearing age.
Yes.
So any four of them could have birthed a child. Jonah can't birth a child, but he can definitely help produce one.
Yes.
So we literally...
It was, I didn't know what else to think.
Yeah, neither did I.
We're going to be grandparents?
That's what literally we wondered if God was preparing us for that.
Yeah, that grandparent thing really stuck out to you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, maybe we're going to be grandparents this year.
So,
okay, we can do that.
So we literally wondered, is God preparing us to be grandparents, or for an unwed pregnancy in the family, or something else happening with one of our kids?
Yeah.
Like, that's initially what we thought. But that didn't seem like it was it. Like, it didn't resonate. It was there as like, well, I guess that could be it. But it didn't resonate with us. And then eventually this one phrase began to rise to the top. It's repeated multiple times in Deuteronomy 6 in a number of different ways. And it says this: the land you're about to enter and occupy. It's like 4 or 5 times in different ways.
Yeah.
It's used in that chapter. Then on Monday, March 8th, where I started the podcast with, I was spending time with the Lord, reading Deuteronomy 6 again, and I just got this sense, this feeling from God that something big was coming, that God was bringing us into a new land. I even wrote in my journal, it's something big with our kids, with us moving, or with Element Church. So I felt so overcome by that. I actually went to the bedroom where you were spending time with the Lord that morning, and I tell you, I think something big's coming for us. Like, this is a new land that God is going to bring us into. And we didn't know if that was figurative, like a new land of ministry at Element, or if it was indeed somewhere new. Either way, on that day, we both sat there on our bed, held our hands out, and prayed, God, wherever you want us, If you want to move us to a new land, we're yours. But specifically, we prayed, put us where we can do you the most good and where you can do the most good in us and our family. Mm-hmm. At that point, we were not looking for something new.
No.
We were not looking to move. We loved Cheyenne. We loved Element. Our dream and desire was to finish out our ministry here and retire here. But if God had something else for us, like, we didn't want to miss out on that.
Yeah.
We were open for God to do whatever he wanted to do.
I remember on that day I met Donna and we went for a walk and I was telling her about all this. And I was like, I said, there is no way God's going to move us. It's got to be something else.
Yep.
Got to be something with our kids. And she didn't tell me at the time, but God said to her, we're moving.
Yeah. Yeah, God revealed to her that day.
So she knew before we knew, which I love that God, he does that. Yep. He's so sweet.
Yep. So that prayer became our daily prayer after March 8th. Lord, if there's a new land for us, please show us. Like, we're available. We just need to, we gotta know it.
Yeah.
You have to show us a new land because we're not looking for one. So March 18th arrives and our trip to Houston is on. We fly to Hobby Airport, which is about 20 miles or so from my aunt and uncle's house. They pick us up and we head straight to lunch. Both my aunt and uncle have been on staff at the harbor prior to their retirement. They're both retired now. I knew their senior pastor, who founded the church, was approaching his retirement as well. I also knew that my uncle was a part of their search committee to find the successor for their pastor. But at that point, I really knew nothing else about the church.
I didn't even know any of that.
Yeah.
That Uncle Steve was heading up the search committee.
Yeah.
So it was so weird when you asked that question.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, okay.
We had never watched a service online.
No, I knew.
I didn't follow them on social media. Like, I knew no one on staff or in the church other than my aunt and uncle. You and I had attended the church back when they were Friendswood Community Church, like in 2010.
Yeah, because we went on a vacation.
Yeah, you and I went on a vacation to Galveston.
Yeah.
Stayed at Aunt Jane, Uncle Steve's house. And on that Sunday, we attended, but that was 2010.
I don't remember anything from that.
Yeah. And again, I did know that they had started their search for a senior pastor to succeed their current and founding pastor because they, he knew, the pastor had said, retirement's coming. He was of the age that retirement was an obvious option. But I assumed that they would find somebody, someone already on the inside or just in their own circle of influence. We were not in their circle of influence at all. So really, as we're riding in the car, just out of genuine curiosity and really to help make conversation, I asked on the way to lunch, you and I are sitting in the back seat. Jonah and Jada are in the third seat. Jane and Steve are in the front. I just asked, hey, how's the pastoral succession going? I was just curious, succession has always been of interest to me because I wanted to make sure that we did a good succession here at Element.
Yeah.
So I was just curious how it was going. I don't think I would have ever even asked that question had we not been there.
Yeah.
I never would have just called them and be like, hey, how's succession going? It didn't cross my mind till that moment in the car as we're riding to lunch. So my uncle shared that at the time they didn't have any candidates that had risen to the top as, obvious God-confirmed choices. And that's when my aunt asked the question that changed our life. Mm-hmm. She kind of turned around and said, well, do you know of anyone who's available or who would be interested? Then she said something to the effect of, and I don't remember if these were exact words, but this is to some of the effect of, someone who is like you could be a perfect fit. And when she said that, she'll even tell you she didn't mean me specifically.
Yeah.
They knew the Element story. They knew how connected and committed we were to Element and to Cheyenne. She just meant, do I know somebody that has similar experiences as I do in church planting, leading a similar sized church? The harbor is about the exact same size as Element, with similar values, similar passions, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. They knew nothing of what God had been doing in us. But when she asked that question, my heart skipped a beat. My heart was quickened is the way I say it. And honestly, I wasn't interested. Mm-hmm. But based on what God was doing, I knew of someone who was at least available. Me. Right? Like we've been praying for God to show us something.
Yeah, but I didn't even think that. I remember later saying, I'm not moving to Texas. Like, what is going on?
But in that moment, I didn't say anything.
Yeah, it was super awkward. We all just kind of laughed. And I
looked at you.
I was like, why is he just sitting there?
Yeah.
He asked the question.
I looked at you with this deer in the headlights look. Like I thought you were thinking the exact same thing I was.
Nope.
I just gave this awkward laugh and I didn't even answer the question and the conversation ended.
Yeah, I can't even remember what happened after that because it was just like so awkward.
Yeah.
And I don't think it came up again.
Yeah. So that night, we spend the rest of the day with them, go to dinner that night, everything. You and I, like Jada and Jonah knew nothing about this prayer we've been praying. They knew nothing of Deuteronomy 6.
Yeah.
Jane and Steve didn't know anything about all that. So you and I, like every spare moment we get, what do we do? That night, we got to our room at their house, and we both had this sense that something had started to stir.
Yeah.
And all we could get out of our mouths was, God, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do we say that?
I don't know. It was so weird. Like after dinner and we came back to the house and got in bed, we were just laying there and my head was just reeling, trying to comprehend and understand and what.
And nothing else had been said since I asked that question, except for, hey, do you know of anybody who's interested? And we were literally asking ourselves, God, what are you doing? It was the weirdest sensation.
Yeah.
In the 14 years here, I've never had that feeling before. So the next day was our first beach day. We both got up early after not sleeping much the night before. We did our quiet time with the Lord. Then as we were getting ready for the day, just in the bathroom, getting dressed, all those kind of things for the day, a specific section of Deuteronomy 6 literally hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like light flooded my heart and mind. It was the first time something from that passage had any kind of direct connection to anything in our life. And I said, oh my word, babe. Oh my word. I don't know if I scared you.
You did. You were brushing your teeth. I was like, what is going on?
You were like, that's what you said. Like, what? I said, Deuteronomy 6. Deuteronomy 6. And I opened up my Bible and I read you the verses that have now become anchors for us through this whole process. Deuteronomy 6, 10 through 13 says this: the Lord your God will soon bring you into the land he swore to give you. It's a land with large, prosperous cities that you did not build. And I told you, I stopped reading. I said, the harbor is in a large, prosperous city. The Houston area is massively big.
Yeah.
Next line, the houses will be richly stocked with goods you did not produce. And I stopped and I said, we weren't a part of producing anything at this church. And then it says, you will draw water from cisterns you did not dig. And I said, we didn't dig anything. We didn't plow any ground, spiritually speaking.
Yeah.
Like we didn't do anything. And then it says, and you will eat from vineyards and olive trees you did not plant. And I said, we didn't plant this church. Someone else did. Then it says this: when you have eaten your fill in this land, be careful not to forget the Lord who rescued you from slavery. You must fear the Lord your God and serve him. Now, we had no confirmation yet. We had no idea if the harbor was God's answer to what he had been doing in our hearts. But I said, the harbor fits that passage perfectly. And I said, I've got to say something to Jane and Steve. So that night we pulled Jane and Steve aside privately while the kids were swimming in their pool and basically told them everything we just shared on the podcast.
Yeah.
And Deuteronomy 6, we shared that, the prayer we've been praying, the sense that something big, a new land was coming for us. At that time, the harbor was still a distant thought. But Jane and Steve helped confirm in us, it's clear God's doing something new in you guys. It was actually good to finally talk to somebody about it. And that was the first of many confirmations to come. Then that Sunday, we attended the harbor as we had already planned to do, so part of our visit. It was during worship that day at the harbor that God spoke to my heart again. They were doing a song by Hillsong called King of Kings. We actually sang it here at Element today. We sang that song. There's a line in the song that says, and the church of Christ was born. And when we sang that line, I just felt the Lord speak to my heart. A new church is being born in you today. It was then I knew God would be calling us to a new church and a new land that was indeed coming for us. Anything you want to say there?
No.
I'm making you cry again?
No.
So when we came home, I decided to fast and pray about what to do. And through a series of several more confirmations that we shared in detail in episode 30, Donna being one of those confirmations that was super important for you,
Yeah.
God just made it clear to us that we were to at least give our names to the search committee of the harbor. One of the confirmations, the random confirmations that God gave to us that we couldn't share before, came from our daughter, Jada. Jada just turned 15. If we were going to move anywhere, like this would affect her the most.
Yeah.
She still has, or at the time, had 4 more years of school left, and a very close friend of hers, she'd be leaving here in Cheyenne. Cheyenne's the only place she's ever lived. Like she was an infant when we moved here. But soon after our trip to Houston, not knowing anything about what had been happening in us, not knowing any of the story, like she knew nothing. She came to you and she said, "Mom, can you ask Jesus if he would call us to Houston?" And what was your response?
I said, well, you can ask him. And she's like, but I don't know if I'll hear him. You ask him, Mom. I said, okay, I'll ask him.
And she came back like multiple times, didn't she?
Yeah. She, like over the next couple of months, she's like, Mom, has Jesus said anything yet? And we weren't ready to tell the kids anything yet. And so I just kept saying, I haven't heard an answer from him yet, which I didn't know what he was doing, but we were in the process of some things. And so I just kept saying, I'll let you know when he tells me. He hasn't told me yet. It was really sweet.
And it was just super confirming to us that if this were to happen, if this was indeed the thing God was calling us to, Jada had a desire to go there.
Yeah, because it does affect her the most.
Yeah. So that was huge for us to hear. So by the end of April now, 2021, our names had been submitted. And by June, we had entered into an official interview process with the church. At the time, it was still very unclear what the timeline would be if the harbor was the place God wanted us to go. Really, it was unclear still whether the harbor would even be our eventual destination.
Yeah, it was the only place we had put our names because we weren't looking. And so
Yeah.
nobody was knocking down the door to get to us. Like Jesus hadn't told anybody about us.
So we had begun at that point. By June, we felt strongly that for us, God was calling us to the harbor.
Yeah.
But while we had that sense of calling, it had not been confirmed in them yet.
Yeah.
Which was a super weird place for us to be, because we started to feel released from Element and drawn to the harbor, but we had to be submissive to their process and timeline as well. And even if the harbor did end up being the place where we went, there was potential that this transition wouldn't happen until much later into 2022. Like the fall of 2022 was really the timeline that initially we thought was going to be their timeline. So this began a several-month process of God confirming and reconfirming in us through scripture, books, podcasts, sermons that we were to resign from Element, regardless of what happened with the harbor, and wait for God's new land to be revealed. And that's then what led to our resignation in September, effective this past Sunday, January 9th. Anything else
No, I think you got it all.
So that still only covers a fraction of all that God has done through this process. The way God orchestrated the sale of our home, which was incredible. Mm-hmm. The purchase of our home in League City is a God story in and of itself. League City is a neighboring community to Friendswood. The dozens of times that God gave us scripture about a new land. I mean, almost immediately, other scriptures God was giving me about this new land. Pastor Derry, our interim pastor here at Element, spoke today and shared a story about when God was calling him to something new, and God gave him a scripture repeated times. And I told you, this is exactly what God did for us, repeatedly giving us that scripture. And even just the story of how God's brought so much unity and provision to Element as we go through this. I mean, when you step back and look at it all, really, if you want to go back to January when we booked this trip, all the way through January today, it's remarkable how God brought this all together. It's absolutely amazing.
We couldn't have made it up.
No. So as they then worked through their process, and they offered us the job in October, and now having their next senior pastor confirmed, they developed their timeline, and they offered to start us on staff on January 10th, my first day after finishing here at Element, which is a blessing. We'll begin with a 2-month sabbatical there in the Houston area, which is incredible. We feel so blessed by that. I think that should be an example of how churches bring in pastors. Like it's hard to transition, and for them to say, "Hey, we want you to start on a 2-month sabbatical, get your family established," is overly generous, and we're very, very thankful for that. My first official day on the job will be March 21st. My first Sunday there at the Harbor will be March 27th, where Pastor Rick, the current senior pastor, and I are planning on sharing some of the story of how God worked all this out. And my first sermon will be April 24th. The tentative handoff date from Rick as senior pastor to myself will be sometime in the second half of 2022. Again, it's incredible how God laid down the path for both the Harbor, us, and Element Church to walk through this. Just the other day, I sat down with my journal and went back and read through all the things that God has done, the scriptures he placed in our life, the confirmations, the challenges he gave. It's truly unbelievable.
Do you know how many confirmations you have written down since you just read through it?
For a while, I was putting them all into a Word document, and I had 18 pages of confirmations that went all the way back. When I went back and started looking at it, goes all back to 2018.
Yeah.
When I started praying a prayer in 2018 that I thought was for my retirement. There's a prayer out of Numbers 27 that Moses prayed for God to raise up the next leader for Israel. And I was challenged to start praying for the next leader of Element, thinking it would be 20 years down the road.
Yeah.
But it was actually on March 8th of 2018, I started praying that prayer. It was on March 8th of 2021 that God confirmed something big's coming. There's a new land I have for you. So 3 years to the day.
Crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is crazy.
And there's other things like that, other dates that were, even dates that match things in Pastor Rick's life.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. And we didn't even get into this, like some of the similarities.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Between Rick and myself in passions and
even the
pursuits.
Harbor and Element and how we do things.
Some of the same words we use are the same. And I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And I wish there was, we've shared for 33 minutes, and you could share for 30 hours.
Yeah.
The things that God's done through all of this, that I'm sure through the years we'll tell. Eventually the whole story will be told. But, again, the reason we want to do this podcast is, first of all, to share where we're going, but also just to share. We call it random. It's not. Nothing's random to God. God took a canceled cruise to get us to Houston during a time where I would ask my uncle the most random question about how pastoral succession's going. And literally, I just did it to make conversation.
Right. Just one introvert trying to talk to an extrovert.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally the only reason I asked.
We probably had already talked about the weather, so then we didn't know what else to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. And that led to a question from my aunt that she had no idea what God was doing in me. But God used all of that to make my heart jump so that I would say something, so that we'd eventually give our names, so that the board could interview us, so that we'd end up in a new land. And it's mind-blowing to me. It's mind-blowing to me. So there you go. A little more of the story behind the story of how God brought us to this place today. To my Element Church family, you will be greatly missed. The last 14 years of ministry have been incredible. And the only reason we would ever leave this place is because of the call of God. And I believe the best is yet to come for you. I've been so proud of how you as a church have walked through this, and I continue to pray that God would raise up for you the right leader at the right time to lead in the right way, and that with the new leader, you'd reach farther, grow deeper, and be healthier than I could ever have possibly imagined. To our new harbor family, I know most of you just found out about us on January 9th, but we've been praying for you for months. Some of you have been praying for by name. I know Pastor Rick has been an incredible leader and pastor for you. For the last 24 years, he has led with vision, grace, and most of all, with integrity, which is very rare these days. And it is such an honor for me to work alongside Rick and the Harbor team in this transition. And it's my highest prayer that I would continue to build with you what God has built with you and Pastor Rick. The Harbor, I hope and pray that I can lead at the Harbor with the same vision, grace, and integrity that Pastor Rick has displayed. For the last several months, Sabrina and I have loved two church families. It's been very surreal and incredibly difficult at times, but it's also been so rewarding. You're making me cry.
Sorry.
So you have any final words, babe?
No. It is so true. It's felt like we're in two different places, living two different lives, trying to leave the people we love, but also learn to love people that don't even know about us yet.
Yeah.
And we do feel so connected to the Harbor, and just the small amount of people that we've met, like you said in the beginning, have been so loving and kind to us.
Yeah.
And not that we expect anything less, but it's just, it makes one transition a little bit easier to know that God's got good people 1,100 miles away as well.
Yeah. It's amazing. So that's all we have for today. So wasn't that fun?
Yeah, that
to
was
listen
awesome.
to again?
To.
Anything you want to say about that episode, about that season, about where we're at?
It was just like a good reminder of all the confirmations that God gave. It was such a bittersweet year. I mean, we were so clueless in February and into March on what was coming, and then God just
made it so clear.
Yeah, he did make it so
step by
clear.
Step.
Yeah, very step by step.
Yep.
But we just kept following each step and each confirmation, and here we are. 4 years later.
Yeah, and we love it here.
Yes.
We are so thankful that the Lord called us here, and he has moved in mighty ways in our lives of our children.
Yeah.
In the life of the Harbor, the life of Element, and beyond. So just again, we're always so thankful for the Lord's clear voice of just not always showing the whole path, but the next step.
Yeah.
Your word's a lamp to my feet and a light to my steps. And that's what he did for us. So again, it was fun for us. I forgot some stuff that we shared in there.
Me
so
too.
It was cool to go back.
Our last month, our podcast was about the way we hear God's voice. And so we saw that play out in this podcast.
So much,
through tons of scripture, he spoke to you.
Through different people.
And he spoke to me through different people and just the different confirmations. You can kind of see it play out how God spoke and worked. And and 2021 was like, it was difficult in that we were leaving a place we loved, but man, I was such under spiritual attack.
You were going through a lot.
And that fall, I can't even tell you how many sessions of listening prayer I did that fall, and I was so anxious. And man, the enemy, he can't know the future, but by watching us, he can sense something is changing. Where God's
working in the present.
Yes, and man, I was under attack, but I'm so grateful for all the work that I did and the healing that God did and prepared us for coming here. And it's very good. Cool.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Again, Lord willing, we'll be back next month with another podcast as we embark on the 7th year of the Naked Party Time podcast. If you have a subject or a question you'd like us to cover or answer. We love doing that. It's super helpful. So if you have something, please drop a comment, a DM, email us at hello@jeffgmaness.com. And don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, rate, and review, and share the podcast no matter where you're watching or listening from. And Sabrina, why don't we end with our marriage mission?
We are united in Christ, unstoppable with Christ, and unbreakable because of Christ.
Now it's time for you to go get naked
And party.
We'll see you on the other side. You've been listening to the Naked Party Time podcast. We hope that this has helped you be more real and raw in your life, leadership, or your love. Please like, rate, review, and comment wherever you see the podcast posted. We are so thankful that you are listening.